rest. But if it's going on multiple days that you've done nothing, that is the problem. And a lot of people who have mental problems think that a therapist is going to wave their magic wand and just fix them. One, you're not fucking broken. We didn't already clear that. You're not broken. That's number one. You're just in a fucking storm. Grab your fucking bootstraps and get the fuck out of there. A lot of people think that medicine and drugs will get them out of that. The doctor will wave its magic wand, provide a prescription to get us out of a specific depressive state. And we know, we've already cleared, if you stay in that state long enough, it will create a delusion for you and basically create a problem to where you're hearing things like, I'm not important and I'm going to kill myself. You start to have delusions. So we understand staying in a depressive state will do that to you. But some people feel like there's nothing I can do to get out of that. There's nothing I can do to myself. Somebody help me. So then they go to drugs. And here's why antidepressants don't work.
Antidepressant isn't beneficial for you. There's a thing called poop out. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I've worked with a ton of patients over the years who are on antidepressants. And a lot of times it can start helping us. And we're like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And then for some reason, it just stops being as effective and we don't really know why. And poop out could be one of those things. Maybe our body and our brain is just like, I'm used to this. It's not helping me anymore. And we might need to be on something different.
Fuck antidepressants. What about antibiotics? Somebody like, what? What are you talking about? Antibiotics. Antibiotics are not that damn good going forward because us as humans, our cells and all of that have adapted. Viruses have adapted to combat with the actual modern day antibiotics. So if you take in terms of antidepressants, a lot of people who take mental drugs find themselves after a certain point having to change medication, and it having a vast effect on how their chemical balance is. So then once this drug no longer works, which is always the case, they have to go to something more bigger, more affecting to them. You find yourself, when it comes down to these medications like antidepressants, they also will make you feel like killing yourself. But furthermore, you will develop a fucking, what is that called? Where you hold on to it for no reason. Like dependency. You create a dependency on that drug. And instead of fixing the problem, like getting yourself out of that mental state and changing your mental state, what it does is it just wipes over and shields the actual problem. It doesn't deal with it. It just masks it. That's it. It just masks the actual problem. That's what the drugs do. So if you're expecting someone to wave a magic wand, give you some medication to help you stop changing the way you think about yourself, you're simply just masking the problem for it to become a bigger issue later, because medication does not deal with mental health. It pushes it aside. And honestly, the whole fucking pharmacy area, as far as prescriptions and all that, it's just as equivalent to drug addicts selling crack on the streets. In most cases, these medicines do not help, especially when it comes to mental health. It's money in it. Oh, yeah. Oh, so these people are dealing with mental health, huh? Well, let's put them on drugs. Let's quickly put them in a position to where we can mask that. They're going to have to build a dependency and continue to come and buy these drugs. What's up, Cynthia Allen? You already know what it is. Let's build a dependency for these people to have to rely on these drugs so they can continue giving us money. That's why medicine doesn't work. That's why it's the biggest fucking scam in the world. Those are legal drug dealers. It doesn't fix the problem. Look at fucking mental patients. A regular sane person can go to an insane asylum, get drugged to hell, be in there for a few years, and then develop actual mental problems. What does that say about medicine? Does it fix the issue? Because a sane person, my black ass could be put in an institution and I would be local than a motherfucker. You understand what I'm saying? So what is medicine really doing? So let's take a look at this guy. And this is going to move us into our next portion of him saying that antidepressants help neuroplasticity.
Did you know that antidepressants like Prozac function partly by enhancing neuroplasticity? This may help explain why these drugs are typically most effective at treating depression when combined with psychotherapy. So it seems that antidepressants don't just make people feel better, they also put the brain into a highly malleable state in which non-pharmacological therapeutic interventions have a stronger effect. Psilocybin, derived from psychedelic mushrooms, may also be an effective antidepressant, and it also seems to enhance neuroplasticity, though in a much more intense way. If you want to learn more about neuroplasticity, check out the captions in my newest video.
Boom. Neuroplasticity will help you fight your depression. It's literally changing the brain. So what he says is that antidepressants help with neuroplasticity. Let me tell you something, folks. What he just said is exposed exactly what the fuck my point is. You think he's talking big about it, which he is, as far as antidepressants. Antidepressants help you with neuroplasticity. Little that you know, you can affect your neuroplasticity just by the way you think. You don't have to pay money for medication to help you do something that you do naturally. You don't need to pay for medication when you can do it in your own head. So, for those of you that don't know what neuroplasticity is,
what is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is when your brain's neurons change their structure and pathways over time in accordance with the external stimuli. Now, excuse my Platonism, but for me, this phenomenon is the connection between the world of meanings and the world of matter. Boy, that's so Platonic. What I mean by meanings is the words, ideas, concepts, things that are untouchable. Feed those to your brain over time and your brain's physiological material structure will literally change. A classic of the soft power winning over the hard power. It's like a superpower except it's not. Man, neuroscience is awesome.
Okay, so in layman terms, we're going to go over what neuroplasticity is. Because when I listen to that motherfucker, it makes sense because I know about neuroplasticity. But for those of you that don't know, let me get a better explaining. So neuroplasticity is also known as neutral plasticity or brain plasticity. It's the ability of neutral networks in the brain to change through growth and reorganization. And it is when the brain is rewired to function in a way that's different from how it previously functioned. So, what that's basically saying is that neuroplasticity is expressing that, one, your brain is more like a recorder. Okay? So, but visually and all that, like a camera, let's say we got a camera and it's always on and it's recording these moments, right? But that is also with our environment. The people, the company that we keep affects how our mental is. Our parents can affect our mental wiring. Hey, you can't do this. As a black man, I was taught growing up in America, you will have to work harder than someone who would be per se white. I was wired to think that shit will be more difficult for me when moving out in the real world. So mentally, while I'm out here, shit is actually difficult for me as a black man to have to fight harder for these high paying jobs and positions. What about when my mom started to feel like, hey, you probably need to find a different route because this isn't working for you? And mentally, that started to creep in my head like, damn, this probably might not work for me because of my wiring. You can change certain things when it comes down to your brain. You always heard You can create a new habit by doing it 28 times or so forth. That's what we're talking about here. It's changing your mental wiring, changing your thinking, actually changing the way you think, which will change your perception of things. And we all have that ability to change our minds. Some people are like, well, damn, how do I even access neuroplasticity? How do I go by doing that without using medication?
So this thing we call neuroplasticity is really that. It's the brain's ability to modify itself in response to experience. And I think it's important to understand that from birth till about age 25, the brain is extremely malleable in a kind of almost passive way where kids are exposed to things.
Zeke, salute to you, my brother. Thanks for coming in and watching. Make sure all y'all people here hit the like. Hopefully I can get y'all to subscribe, goddammit, because I'm only here to speak fucking facts. Anytime I get on the motherfucking like, I say, fuck it, we going live. I'm speaking nothing but facts. But to go back on that point, you have to focus. You have to be disciplined to actively make an effort to change the way you think. You have to actively make an effort to change the way you think. Hey, I'm going to stop smoking. I got to stop smoking. So I'm going to try to not think about smoking. I'm going to remove myself from those who do smoke. I'm going to try everything in my power to ensure that I don't want to go back to those habits. And after a while, you forgot the fact that you wanted to stop smoking, especially if you continue to push and move forward and keep pressing, focusing on not going back, staying disciplined. This is what this is all about.